Hello, everyone. um, this is this is quite new to me, but I decided to make a video today covering my process behind gesture drawing, gesture studies. For those of us who don't know me, my name is Joseph Ubana. I'm a storyboard artist from Nigeria with 4 years of experience working in the industry. Throughout my 4 years working studying and practicing storyboarding, I've always tried to look for ways to make sure I improve, things that would make me basically draw faster, work faster. Because as a storyboard artist, you do need to put down your drawings and ideas real quick. So, yeah, I'm making this video to show you what my thought process is like throughout um, my time making gestures and all of that. What I like to think of first when I get a reference, I look at the pose. I do like to study poses in motion. So I pick up maybe video references or picture references of people doing and performing an action. So it could be athletes, it could be ballet dancers, um, swimmers. I do love to draw cricket players as well as divers and swimmers because they have very fluid body movements in a way where their body bends to beautiful angles. Yeah. You can relate if you do your studies as well from Pinterest. But if I don't use Pinterest, I like to get video references from YouTube or people from Instagram, just wherever I can find them. Sometimes I do perform some moves myself for my eyes only, and I use those to also practice. And this is something I do daily. Another thing I'd like to mention is that you have to do this very consistently for you to be fluid enough to um, just randomly know where to put these lines. Because if you do watch how I go about this, you would assume, how do you know the lines are supposed to be in certain places? Well, it starts from knowing anatomy, yeah? Understanding forms, understanding the human body, proportions of things, the torso to the pelvis and the shoulders, the head, the waist. These things work hand in hand when the body moves. Especially the shoulder line and the waistline. They help you understand where the body is being turned towards or what angle it's facing. So what I like to do is when I get my reference, I try to understand what kind of pose it is first off, and I like to imagine it in animation form. So I ask myself the question, what would the next pose be? If it's a picture, I like to think, what would the next pose be? Can I draw this pose, the next pose from my head, from memory? Can I just quickly put it down? Or, you know, that question alone let me try to understand more how possible is this movement. Where does this torso follow? If it's going to turn right or left from this angle, how is this torso supposed to move alongside the arms, the forearms, and everything? So from that, I try to understand where the weight of the character is placed. Is it to the left? Is it to the right leg? Is it to the left leg? Is he moving in a way where he needs to balance after that particular pose? Is it throwing something where he needs to fall towards a particular side and all of that? Those things do help me understand how much emphasis I would put in a particular angle or particular side to the character. I picked up a lot too watching Aaron Blaze's drawings of animals. There's a way his lines always flow, and it's just beautiful to look at. So every line I do put down helps in pushing the movement of the character. It's more like an illusion, yeah. When you look at it, you feel like yes, this actual movement going on in this pose. But I would say one of the basic one things and the most important things you need to know first is understanding shapes, yeah, shapes and forms of the character of the human body or animal body, depending on what you're studying at the moment. There are times where I pay more attention to things like the anatomy itself, the muscles when I do gesture drawing. If at that point I'm studying that, I'm trying to get more used to the muscles and how they talk into one another, how they form up into a whole structure, then yes, I tend to add more lines to show those muscles and their movements. But otherwise, I try to simplify as much as I can, break those forms into very loose shapes, like just a curved line to show shoulder line going down to the forearm. You could have just one line that takes it all, it makes it feel more smooth. And once again, for animators and storyboard artists, and I want to believe all artists out there, when you're making a sketch, you want to do it fast and feel how make sure the energy you're putting into that pose is being felt by the viewers and by yourself. If you do notice, a couple of times I tried to add smears. This I do just because I was trying to figure out smears that would work for certain kind of motion. It's study as well. Everything I do is for study purposes. I try to figure out what do I need to add to make this feel realistic as well as smooth enough for cartoons, yeah, for animations. It's really interesting to try and understand how the human body moves because when you take up complex poses or video references and you pause in between them while you draw, you'd realize that the body could actually move in ways that you wouldn't expect. If you think about it without using a reference, you might have a very stiff, stagnant pose, and it won't feel as natural. But when you use a reference, especially a video reference, and you make sure you take that screenshot when you need to randomly, if possible, just make sure the character is in motion, you would find out that the body moves in very beautiful ways. It also could bend to a certain angle that you wouldn't normally think of on your own, and it will help you understand so much more when you're trying to make an animation. It would help you understand the flow of the body parts and everything you need to know basically as an animator. Again, I would like to emphasize on doing this consistently. to get your gesture drawings and understanding of line of action, flow of characters, flow of body parts, and all of that, you would need to do it enough for you to be able to imagine it from your head. That's always the goal for me, because as a storyboard artist, you don't always have the time to look up references, especially scenes that I mean it's you can't just go to Google and search for a particular type of pose and get exactly what you want. Even when you do get your references, they are not exactly what you need, but they do help you to they help guide you, to make the actual pose you want. And if you do not understand basic things like the body movements, the forms, and all those things, you wouldn't be able to manipulate those poses to make the one you actually want. I always advise people to act out their poses too. I'm giving this is like an extra tip on storyboarding or animation. Well, I do advise people to act out their poses. It helps a lot for poses you can't find. But it doesn't really work for me because I mean it does work, but not all the time because I do a lot of actions and action scenes and sequences. And I obviously, not obviously, but I definitely cannot perform those moves. Those moves I draw a lot of times acrobatic. I would lose a good part of my body. So I do a lot of gesture drawings. I study a lot of action poses, action scenes, things that are possible, um, taekwondo fights, stuntsmen, and all of that. Those things help me to understand how far you can push, the body parts and the human figure as a whole when trying to make certain actions work realistically. Ignore the speed of the video, it's a time lapse video, yeah. But I do like to time myself regardless. Sometimes I do 2 minute gesture session, 2 minutes per pose or a minute per pose. And when I do want to push myself a lot more, I do 30 seconds per pose. And those things help in understanding, they help your draftsmanship a lot. You can easily say, all right, from point A to point B, character moves this way. Let's make it work, and you get that flow and body movements quite easily thanks to muscle memory. You've done it enough to be able to call it out from your brain at any point. But yeah, I might do this a bit more often, make videos like this, depending on what you guys think. I would like to hear from you all. Tell me if this has been helpful to you. Leave a comment. Depending on your response, guys, depending on your engagement to this, I might drop in a lot more. Maybe some storyboard tips as well, some storyboard lessons, and all of that. But thank you all so much. See you guys another time. Bye.